The last week of any legislative session is chaotic and almost always controversial. The end of the 53rd legislature was no different, with the House and Senate in a standoff over tax cuts, the budget, and bond proposals. But after a few hours of arm twisting, House Republicans mustered enough votes to get at least the budget approved.
With a 5 o'clock Friday deadline to adjourn, lawmakers faced a small mountain of bills, plus tax cuts, and a budget for fiscal year 2013. There was also a growing sense of dissent. The really big decisions on those issues actually occur behind closed doors, while also off the floor, conference committees hammer out differences between versions of bills. In the last week, those meetings take on the air of an auction.
That concludes the explanation of the bill. Are there questions? We've got a due pass by Senator Crane. We've got a second by Senator Brinkley. Will there be questions on the bill? Questions on the bill? Will there be debate on the bill? Debate on the bill. Seeing none, the bill's going to be coming on for sign out. Thank you very much, Senator Sparks.
The lunch hour for lawmakers usually includes catered meals, the leftovers of which remain in a hallway for hours, adding an aroma to the fourth floor rotunda. That's where meetings between lobbyists, concerned citizens, and legislators occur. Meetings that are almost always followed by a quick phone call to someone who is not in the Capitol to bring them up to date on the latest developments. But when House Minority Leader Representative Scott Inman and Representative Earl Sears, chairman of the House Appropriations and Budget Committee, huddle, it means something is up. The discussion most likely involves big issues. And during the last week of the session, just about anything can suddenly go sideways.
Under the Department of Tourism, of course, one of the things that would happen is the bonded indebtedness.
I don't know what bill number we're even on, Senator.
Senator, if you missed it, I'm sorry. Our board crashed. We've lost power to the entire front of the system house. It's in dire need of being replaced, and we haven't had the money to do that yet. So we're having to go old school, old style.
The tote board that shows what bills senators are working on and how they vote stopped working. That meant doing business the old-fashioned way.
Members, when your name is called, please rise and say yea if you are for the measure, nay if you are opposed.
And that produced a sight rarely seen during any legislative session. Every member in their seat waiting to vote. As the days went by, more bills showed up, which put pages back on the floor, passing out more paper as the piles on the bill table got higher. And then it's time to take up the biggest issue of the session, the General Appropriations Bill, otherwise known as the budget. First, the Senate heard the spending measure.
And then we adjust that guy for inflation. And then we start seeing what we've done to our agencies. Education overall, 17.76% reduction. OETA, 65%. School of Science and Math, down 27%.
If you want to say that we're cutting education, that we're cutting these agencies because we're not giving them inflationary adjustments, feel free to make that argument. But what we have here is a common sense budget that balances the priorities of the state of Oklahoma.
The final vote was 30-15, split along party lines, Republicans for, Democrats against. Meanwhile, over in the House, members were fighting over procedural matters, issues that showed the dissension was growing between House Republicans. When House Speaker Chris Steele arrived on the floor late in the day on Tuesday, that parliamentary battle heated up. About 2 hours of time was spent fighting over rules, with the House ending the day as the clock approached 7 p.m. The next morning, the Senate took up bond issues. $40 million for the Native American Cultural Center was defeated, while $20 million for the Pop Culture Museum in Tulsa won narrow approval. In the House, a $200 million bond issue to repair the aging state capitol went down in flames.
And how you can stand here in good conscience and say, I took an oath to defend the Constitution, and I'm going to do it by voting to repair the Capitol with an unconstitutional burden of debt, please do so. I'm anxious to hear the response in the debate. Fortunately, I'll get to hear the minority leader debate this in a moment.
You got a chance in about 15 minutes to live by your own credo, to do what you told Washington to do, to stand up and say, don't push us further into debt, don't increase our debt ceiling. Are you going to be a hypocrite, or are you going to stand on the principles that you stood behind when you sent that letter to Congress?
The final vote was not even close, 15 for, 77 against. Then, one day before adjournment, the General Appropriations Bill hit the floor of the House, and the pushback intensified.
And when you don't decrease those agencies that a lot of us out here would like to see stand on their own, we're sending them a message saying, we will take care of you because we don't have the courage to cut your budget back.
Ridiculous, unconstitutional, and I hope we can kill it in the courts, because it won't happen with this leadership team, who, by the way, were the only people apparently that voted for the $200 million in bonds yesterday.
The tax plan is dead. It's dead. DOA dead. What's that mean? There's $32 million you could put into education. We're going to play games maybe a little bit later on this afternoon and take $165 million out of the Edge Fund, mix it all up and send it all around to whoever wants it. What special project here and there? That's $165 million. We're putting $314 million into the Rainy Day Fund. I'm now at $515 million.
Representative Earl Sears took to the podium to try and quell the revolt and get the GA bill passed.
But you have a standstill budget that we absolutely did not want to cut any other state agencies. But we also knew that we wanted to have targeted growth, targeted increases to particular programs. And the budget you have before you has that.
The vote was 47 to 47, a tie. The bill needed a simple majority to pass, and it failed by 4 votes. But by mid-afternoon, the bill was back up for another vote. After several motions were made to try and kill the attempt, the budget passed a second time by a vote of 52 to 42. The measure now goes to the governor, who is expected to sign it.
The House this week approved legislation that would give Oklahoma's assistant attorneys general the right to carry firearms anywhere in the state, but rejected a move to allow lawmakers the same privilege. Here is more from that debate in this O&R Extra.
This bill, as it is written, is justified from the standpoint that these attorneys general make very powerful, very dangerous enemies, and they have a very dangerous job to do. We're not in that position, and frankly, I would hope that the members would not support the idea of sticking legislators in this simply because we're legislators and we'd like to have that privilege.
We don't protect ourselves. We have our Second Amendment, but you know how many times it's been trampled on? You say, well, yeah, we got the Second Amendment. I'm a constitutionalist. I believe in the Second Amendment. I hear that from a lot of members, probably every member in here. And you've campaigned on it. And then when you go out to your district, yeah, I believe in that, but we're going to pass a law so you can carry. And my constituents say, why do you have to pass a law if it's in the Constitution?
They have prosecuted very dangerous people. They have put dangerous people in prison who get out of prison and have made numerous threats. And they are in a much different situation than people like us who may make speeches and irritate extreme, potentially dangerous people, some of which may be serving here in the Capitol next year.
How many people in here go to public events and public meetings and speak out in public, either at the library, football fields, schools, and places like that? Some of you may carry there anyways, even though you're not supposed to. But you probably do it because those are killing grounds. We have provided killing grounds for the bad guys to come and get us.
That might start us down a dangerous path of giving ourselves really unjustified privileges that the average citizen doesn't have. After all, why should a legislator have to have a hunting license to go hunting? Why should we have to pay for car tags? Why should we have to do anything like this?
This is not, I'm not asking to say, hey, let's just let legislators carry on the House floor so we can shoot at each other when we get mad. Well, House rules covers that. Just ask the Speaker. We can't carry in here on the House floor. What I'm asking for is the law to carry to those public events that I go to and take my family to.